Hey guys, how's it going? In this video we're going to create a homepage for a design agency in Figma. Now we're going to create a wireframe from scratch and also the entire UI design from scratch. So without further ado, let's get rolling. So the very first thing that you want to do is to create a new document and then click on Frame. And as you can see at the very right, we're going to have a series of presets, and I'm going to use the desktop one, which has a 14 by 40, or actually 1440 of width, which is quite good for a desktop project. And so that's what we're going to do. And I'm also going to make the height bigger in order to make everything fit pretty well. And let's start by adding some text. Now in this case, let's create the header, the top header. So we're gonna have it about, and we're going to create a few other elements. Let me go over here, move up with these on the left, and they're still big, but this is fine for now. We're going to have a services, we're going to have a portfolio section, and we're also going to have a social section and also a contact section. So let's select all of them and let's make them smaller, since at the moment they're a little bit too big, and also going to make the font a little bit lighter. So in this specific case, I'm going to stick with Montserrat, as you can see over here, and it's a free Google Web font, which is quite good for UI designs in particular, because it's a professional font, but it still looks pretty energetic, let's say, and it looks like a friendly font. I wouldn't really exactly know how to how to define it, but it looks good. Let's just keep it at that. So here we have these, and I think that I'm going to make these all like this, and maybe we're going to make to add a little bit of letter spacing, make it look more modern and cool. And let's give the font size a 16 and or even a 14, since this font is quite big. And I'm also going to distribute horizontally, and this is a very cool thing. So essentially you select all of these text, and you can literally distribute them so that the space is evenly distributed between one another. And this is a pretty cool feature, which I use all of the time. Now over here we're going to have our logo, and I'm going to make it bigger, and this is pretty much it. So during this first phase of our design, we're just going to focus on getting the UX, like the main UX up, and then I think that we're going to shoot a second video in which we're going to create the full UI design. So still think it's a little bit big, my taste, and let's make this text even more. This, I think it looks good. And now let's add a headline. Now let's zero these settings up. Let's make the text a little bit bigger. Now, a cool thing that in order to make the text bigger in a short amount of time is you can simply hold Shift and then press with the up or down arrow. This allows you to move to make changes to the text incrementally. So it's a pretty cool thing, and let's add a headline. Best creative agency on the planet. Why not? So leave it like this, and I think that I'm going to make this not all uppercase. Maybe something around these lines could work and be interesting. All right, so we have the headline. We might want a sub-headline in order to further describe what the agency is about. Okay, I just created the most vague sub-headline ever, but I think we're good for this moment, and I'm also going to create a button, or actually, first of all, I'm going to group all of this, center it, and after that I'm going to create a button. And this is going to be a call to action in order to have users that land on this landing page to call them. So it's going to be call us, and I'm going to create a button out of this. So something around these lines can be interesting. And I'm going to group this and make the call us text here in the middle, and I think we're pretty good. So here we have a nice heading, and now we're going to move forward and create the services section. Or actually, let's start with the about section, since we put it before the services in the top heading. And let's make this a little bit smaller. And what we're going to do here is we're going to have a image on the left or on the right. Or actually, yeah, on the left, I think it will look better. And then we're going to have a paragraph essentially describing the company and what the company is really about. So let's do this, and I'm going to left align all of it, and here we go. I'm just going to make this a little bit lighter, a little bit smaller, since it's quite big for being a text in a website. And we can duplicate this. So you kind of get the idea. Just going to have some text over here. Let's just keep it vague. Maybe around these lines, this could work. I mean, guys, at the end of the day, it's all about experimenting, and yeah, lots of experimentations and just trial and error overall. And then yeah, I'm just seeing what works, what doesn't. The design process is really all about just trying things out all the time, really. So, and of course, following a framework, but you know, experimentation is a large part of what we do as designers. So yeah, I think it's looking pretty well. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and create the UI design, just because I figured out that it might be a little bit boring for you guys to just see the UX part in this first video. So I thought about creating also the UI design at the same time, which can be a little bit challenging because I don't have time to really think through this. I mean, I'm literally doing this on the spot without any particular like direction or anything. So yeah, I mean, just bear with me, guys, and let's get at it together. So I'm going to search on Unsplash, which is a great website in order to find royalty-free images. I'm just going to type some things like creative. I think this looks good for the header. And again, guys, like we're just making this up, so there isn't really like a specific direction, a specific brief that we need to answer. So we can really go wild with this, and that's exactly what we're going to do with this project. So just going to download a few photos, and I'm going to play around with them and see what can inspire us to essentially create this UI design. So these are pretty cool, but I really want to search for something interesting. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do a few tests. So one thing that I want to try is to create a overlay between the images and a background color. So let's give this a try. Going to choose the images, which I already downloaded. It's good to try this one, and I'm going to go here and give it a lower amount of opacity, so you can still see the subject of the picture, but the picture itself isn't really that visible, I guess. So maybe something around these lines can be interesting. And I want to give it a shot when it comes to the gradients. So over here, let's just make this gradient, and we can move around the gradients a little bit and just create a few variations. Right. So also playing around with the drop shadow from time to time, you know, you can this can become a little bit more interesting if you just play around with the elements, just try things out, and I'm going to give it a linear gradient also for this one. Let's see how this works. So just to give it a little bit of dynamism overall, and to make the design a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the direction. I think that I'm going also to create a hover effect over in this one, and just to basically visualize how a selected option would look like. Maybe we're going to make it a little bit smaller, and yeah, I definitely think we're onto something here, and this is starting to become quite interesting. Now let's see if we can play around with some elements, just this one, in order to just give a little bit more dynamism to this to the composition. All right. Another cool trick with this section is to make it a linear again, and in this case we're going to have something around these lines, just still having that that hint of grayish of blue, but still, you know, making it subtle and in a way that doesn't interfere too much with the overall design. So just a light element that we can have as a background or whatnot, and yeah. So I think this is looking okay for now, and I'm going to use a photo over here. Maybe we can also consider having radius borders and also a drop shadow. So we can go ahead here, make a drop shadow, and we're going to tone down the opacity. And over here we want a photo which is descriptive, and so let's go on go back to Unsplash, and we're going to search for person. Okay, maybe this one could work well with the layout, and this one too. We could have maybe a photo of the pretend that it's the photo of the founder. So, or we could also go for a team photo. There really isn't, there's many ways we can go after this, so it's all up to us really. So yeah, I think this is looking okay for now. Let's give it a shot. Okay, this is looking pretty well. So this was the founder. Maybe you can have a headline, a sub headline over here. Let me think about one which could work well. We can simply reverse this, and going to add it here, and I'm going to make this text just a little bit more visible. I'm going to add it here, and one thing that I believe we're missing is a link to maybe an inner page where they can see even more. So learn more, and we're going to have the same color here. Cool. Another thing that I want is an arrow, and I'm using this app which is Nucleo, and also bought their icon set, and it really is amazing because it allows you to search between so many icons which are really great and minimal. And you can also add the Google Material icon set, I guess. I can't remember if it's in Nucleo or in Icon Jar. However, Nucleo is definitely a great resource, which I definitely recommend. So be sure to check it out if you haven't yet. And yeah, guys, I think we're good like this. I mean, if it was obviously this is not how you operate on a client project. This is more of a video to show you like the UI design process and the techniques. However, when you're usually dealing with clients, you would um, create a brief for them. You would hop on a call, extract informations, understand their goals and their pain points. There's a lot that usually goes on when it comes to the client part. However, for this video, I think we can wrap it up, and we're going to continue with part 2. So be sure to check it out if you want to see the full finished website. And also, one of the things which can really help you out when you're dealing with UI design projects is to use UI kits, which essentially enable you to have predefined elements which you can then drag and drop and then tweak in order to create a custom tailored solution for either your project or your client. And I'm going to leave in the link in the description my premium UI kit resource, which I use all of the time and which I recommend. And yeah, so this is pretty much it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in part 2.